Hello, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Here.
Director Brodsky.
Here.
Director Clayton.
Here.
Director Adams.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here. Moving on to item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held June 13th of 2024.
I read the minutes, I believe they're reasonably accurate, and make a motion to be approved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 2, committee reports.
Mr. President, have quite a few to report. Your executive committee met May 30th with Chief Dandridge. We discussed the chief's ideas for future use of Station 6 for an engine. And so that is ongoing. We're continuing to cooperate and work with the chief for a positive outcome there. On the 5th of June, your real estate committee met with regarding the Gresser lease, which is one of our ad leases, and met with Brian Gresser, and we anticipate in the short and near future we'll be coming back with a lease amendment that will resolve some issues and think better situation for all involved. On the 18th, we met, your tenant committee met with a newly established tenant association. We had some good conversation regarding recent turns of events and how we can work together to make our relationship better. We have a tentative date for the next meeting of July 23rd. On the 19th, your Government Affairs Committee met with city staff, and we discussed there's several city well easements that we need to address. We need to get their well 6S interconnect into the ground rather than now currently sitting on the ground. So we talked about that. Additional conversations about fire with Assistant City Manager and Public Works Director with Chief Dandridge there. We also talked about how we're going to cooperate during this transition away from AFFF to F3. The Real Estate Committee met again on the 24th with Joe Goen and your real estate agent Tom Ross to address the RV lease. We ran into a snag with the current lease. While we moved the threshold, there's still zoning issues that they're not insurmountable, but they will take significant amount of time to overcome. So we considered other areas where that tenant could move to and develop other than that area. And we think we've landed on a space. And it's very preliminary, but he was very receptive to it. It would be on the other side of the creek, between Skyway and Air Park. I think it's a good solid use. The zoning's right. We just have to do some lease issues that we can get done quickly, relatively quickly, much quicker than rezoning.
Right.
And get him on his way. So that was a happy outcome of that meeting. Your Finance Committee met on the 26th, reviewed the budget. Real Estate Committee met again today we met up at ORM in San Luis Obispo and discussed the G3 lease, things going on there that we wanted to get on top of. We talked about the A Street rezoning and our plans to restart the business park special plan update. This is all in anticipation of a positive outcome from our talks with Fish and Wildlife that we hope will happen in the next several weeks. And your your executive committee met on the 6th and the 20th to do agenda setting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions before we move on? Moving on to item number 3, General Manager's report.
We had a visit from Congressman Carvajal on the 30th of May. Our congressman was the author of a bill. The national bill affects every airport, every commercial service airport in the country, but it's especially important for California because this state has outlawed PFAS which means we have to do the transition away from AFFF to F3. And the law will allow for the reimbursement of those costs. So your budget includes, so we'll have to front the money, obviously, but then we'll be able to be reimbursed for those costs in total. Huge help. On the 6th of June, there's Plants of Fame had the Airfest kickoff barbecue over at the Jet Center. It was a lot of fun, and I think things are going well in the lead up to the Airfest. On the week of June 11th through the 13th, I was at the FAA conference down in Torrance, the FAA Regional Airports Conference, and talked about all things airport, but I also had some offline conversations with the FAA and shared with them more progress and how we're going to close the deal with getting back onto the good graces of FAA so that we can restart our capital plan and our grant programs and those things. So it went really well. On the 20th, I participated in the Open Street Committee meeting. Open Streets is a program the city has where they close down, I guess it's Main Street, and people from all walks of life show up. We participated in it last year. It was a blast. So it'll be on October 6th, and we plan to participate in it again. I think it'll be an annual event now.
Do you have a booth out there or something?
We took out our old fire truck, the F-250, put up a canopy with a table. We have a couple cornholes that have the runway ends on them. The kids came up and played cornhole and gave them, we gave them little what do you, yeah, little frozen pops. Cost like a quarter. And it was we loved it. So we had a great interaction with the public. If you can make it, I suggest you participate. It's a lot of fun.
Did you guys give out air show tickets last year too?
We had, I mean, not to everybody. But
No.
there was
Like the kids.
a select, yeah, well, you see a family of four, here's an air show ticket.
That's
Now, if they want to go, they gotta buy 3 more. But it's a nice gesture, something that we had the ability to do. We've been we're into regular standing weekly, bi-weekly meetings as needed with SoCal Gas and plan to realign their gas pipeline that runs through the airfield. The idea is to currently as it's going is that they would realign it at their cost, right about where the fire station's at, and swing it into the road alignment there, and then out past the cul-de-sac at the end, past the hotel, and then outside the fence line and find its way back over to the existing easement. So that we would no longer have that gas line, that gas main in the movement area or in the AOA. So we're both enthusiastic about making it happen. And that's all I have.
Any questions from you?
Oh. Well, last but very much not, what was that? Huh? Luck, that's, Roll of Luck is our new Carla Osborne, our ops specialist. We finally found someone that was the unicorn that's needed for that kind of position. He's coming from Humboldt County. For the last few years at Arcata and all the other airports. I think they have 5 airports up there. So we're happy he's here. He should start work Monday.
And what will she be doing? What will she be doing? What would he be doing?
He's the ops specialist, so basically anything we tell him to do. But it's somewhere you have to be on the airfield and you have to work independently, and we don't need somebody making mistakes out there.
No.
So we need someone to have a background where they could drive on the airfield, drive on the runway, and do all those things without much of any learning curve. And he has it.
What's his name?
Roll of Luck. Rolo.
But he's left.
Good.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, Manager of Finance and Administration Report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I provided the demand list for your review and approval.
Make a motion to accept it.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Moving on to item number, oh, I'm sorry, it was,
And the budget deviation is something that the board has to vote on, and I can go over that if you'd like.
yes, please do.
So the first 5 items on the budget deviation are all electricity. So last year, we base our budget on the prior year, and last year's electricity was much lower and it was an increase, so that we had to do a budget deviation. There was some needed maintenance in the hangar area, so we needed to perform that maintenance and then did a budget deviation. There was some miscellaneous maintenance in the revenue generating line, so we had somebody hit the fence that we had to repair, and we had to run a line to the grazing fields. The bank fees were, we had ongoing credit cards that we had to terminate the contract, so we didn't terminate it. It took a while to terminate, so that's why we had some fees, but it's no longer accruing any fees for the credit cards. And then advertisement we cut because we didn't get new service, so we didn't need to advertise for that, so we reduced that, which makes the budget deviation a negative number. Weed and wildlife maintenance, we had a lot of additional spraying because of the runway project and crack sealing, and we're using the herbicides the price has increased, and they're using a pre and post herbicide. Emergence, yes.
The motion of deviation be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? And yes.
That's all you had. Everything else is informational only. Budget deviation and register that for.
Moving on to item number 5, public session. Statements from the floor will be heard during public session. Request to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests requiring board action will be referred to staff and brought on the next appropriate agenda. Members of the public are cordially invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are available for review in the office of the general manager on the Tuesday prior to each meeting. The board will establish a time limit for receipt of testimony, in this case, 3 minutes. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt of testimony. That being said, I have Kevin.
Word, staff. Speaking here today on behalf of being a district resident and taxpayer, make some comments. I submitted a request under FOIA and the California Public Records Act on May 19th, and I haven't been satisfied with the output. To my belief, this airport's in great dysfunction, lack of growth, failing infrastructure. It's got a history of mismanagement, conflicts of interest, abuse of power, all things that I think are pretty common knowledge over the last 20 years. Concerned that things are repeating themselves. It looks like there's some obstruction to my request. Multiple current pending lawsuits, external and internal. I think it's pretty egregious that there's all the infighting and then all the external stuff going on. Lease rates increasing to 50% without satisfying economic law of supply and demand, despite having occupancy issues, and while defining market rate with no analysis. So those are big concerns of mine. You guys have had a 30-year business plan in hand for 5 years, and I understand from at least 3 of you that you've done nothing against that plan. That tells me there's dysfunction that needs to be addressed in the public sphere and as a taxpayer. Because of this, that's why I submitted the request for information. I asked for 10 years of financial, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. I also asked for major capital expenditures. I asked for a number of other items. You've probably all seen the email. To date, I've received less than 5% of the information I've asked for. What I received, it doesn't meet my expectations, and I don't think it would meet anybody's expectations. I'll tell you that half of were duplicates, most were mislabeled, periods were undefined. Some had incorrect periods, otherwise, non-consistent format. One document wasn't even a financial statement. So I received one email with 50 file attachments. Doesn't cover a fraction of what I'm trying to do is look at the financials. None of that information met my request to have electronic data sent to me. Deliberately, in fact, I got an email from Josh saying that you can't have electronic data. I know for a fact California law says I can. I sent Josh that email and got no reply. I've had no response to those questions for over a month. Okay, the results are clear. The actions are willful non-compliance of state and federal law. FOIA and California Public Records Act. Well, now it's going to force it. Basically, it's you guys are hostile, right? But not providing the information that I'm asking for as a taxpayer. Non-compliance will only result in legal action to acquire information, wasting even more taxpayer money. This management team must be held to account. Your actions are also a no confidence vote for confidence. I shouldn't have to look through 50 files and go, oh my God, right? If this was a private entity, this would never happen. Substandard work. I don't have words. Taxpayers are paying a super premium for work that clearly does not meet minimum standards. These managers can't or won't produce financial information. Simple request. Then the board members know. I think the taxpayers in this district deserve better, much better. And I recommend that the two managers at the table step down or be removed. Thank you.
Okay, that was the only one I had. Moving on to item number 6, review and approval of the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025.
I'll make a comment on this. Normally, I'd like to have a couple of days to review budgets for the year in advance. This one came today. But what I see on it, it's reasonable. Looks like some costs are going down. The budget, at least the budget is going down.
We literally got numbers today and yesterday. So I'd like to start with, on page 6 of 6 of your budget spreadsheet, it's the operating gain or loss before depreciation. Last year was $2.2 million. This year is 1.2. But when you factor in the non-operating income, it's a 1.5 gain. So we have a balanced budget. Huh? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So we'll start off with the operating revenues, a 22% increase in overall operating revenues this year, a 60% increase in ag revenues, and a 41% increase in hangar area revenues. Where the LEO reimbursement, which is the law enforcement officer reimbursement from TSA, has been cut. So that's decreased by 46% based on TSA's agreement with the district. Okay, so this is a slide with a graph on it that didn't come out. I'm sorry, but you guys have it in your packet.
And it's on the iPads for the community that run them.
So let's talk about the operating expenses this year. Overall operating expenses have decreased by 7%. We decreased advertising by 81%. We don't anticipate having a new airline, so we decreased the advertising expense. Consulting, I want to explain that, it decreased by 81%, but part of the consulting number was moved into other line items, so it's not completely 81% decrease. It's got, some of it got moved to software costs, and other costs got moved to communications. They shouldn't have been in consulting. We wanted to be clear what was consulting and what was computer issues, software, and the utilities to provide the software. We have cut travel expense to 65%. We're only going to have essential travel this year. Staff and board members will be only traveling if it's essential. Our consulting professional has been reduced by 79%. We have some contracts that are expiring, and we plan to negotiate those at a lower rate if possible. We increased maintenance by 17% in all areas. Again, electricity expense increased. You saw the budget deviation. That's what happened with electricity expense. We reduced office supplies expense, and the majority of that was we were recovering chairs in the terminal area. We're not going to do that this year. We might resume that in the future, but right now, because of the costs, we're trying to cut costs. We're not doing it this year. We did increase security for BOMAR by 9%. So the capital budget is a lot less than it normally is. So most of these things you know about already, because it's the specific plan is something that we are finishing. The hangar roof you've discussed numerous times. Hangar upgrades, we've got $100,000 in there so that we can do some painting or siding. A street parcel rezone, that's another one that's ongoing. The access control upgrades are something we continuously do. Airfield signage and lighting, we always have to have something in the capital budget in case the FAA comes and asks for us to do something additional. You know about the customs facility, that is for the roof, the remodel, and also to put the computer software.
Control.
What?
Access.
Pardon me? Oh, access control, yeah, for customs, I'm sorry. Fire station equipment, that's something we keep in yearly. That's a request from the fire department. We're looking to purchase a new tractor. If the money is there, we'll do that. Main hangar drainage is something that John went over in his presentation. Boardroom improvements, that is just for our video to help with that. Mobile home utilities, we are transferring the utilities to the tenants, and there are a couple buildings that belong to us that we will have to pay for. G3 improvements, we think there will be some engineering costs for that. And the land sign payment repair and improvement is something that you approved at 2 or 3 board meetings ago. So that contract is in place. So the final page of the cash flow analysis. And this is showing you what we estimate to have as a cash balance as of July 1. The budget revenues are inflowing, the budget expenses are outflowing. There's an encumbered amount for $2 million. And then the net cash balance. And then the capital outlay for the fiscal year ties back to the capital budget. Property taxes, interest, and that gives you your cash flow, excuse me, for year end, which flows through every year. The rest of the numbers are estimates based on what we know right now.
My personal view is I'd like to have a little bit more time to review these, and I'd like to see it delayed for approval initially, but it's okay, but I'd like to look at it with more time.
I've reviewed them today, or yes, was yesterday.
Yeah,
I think they're fine. I think that we should approve them. I will make a motion to approve them.
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next be public resolutions.
Public comment.
I vote no.
Do you have any public comment?
Public comments for this?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor to approve?
No, not all in favor. I said I voted no in that time. It looks like a good candidate that not had time to look at, didn't get the numbers. He told me.
Let's go ahead and do a roll call, or,
President Moreno,
yes?
Director Baskin,
No.
Director Clayton,
Yes.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Director Brown.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 7, resolution 936, a resolution of the board of directors of the San Luis Obispo Airport District approving a grant of easement to Pacific Gas and Electric.
Mr. President, this is simply an easement to allow PG&E to provide service to the Plains of Fame Museum.
I make a motion that be approved.
I'll second.
President Moreno.
I haven't,
Oh, sorry.
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 Phil,
Moving on.
Phil.
Moving on.
Who's sleeping on us?
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
It's a,
That's what we'll vote. Yes.
so President Moreno,
Yes.
Director Basket.
Yes.
Director Clayton,
Yes.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Director Brown.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 8, authorization for the president and the general manager to execute the letter of engagement between the district and CJ Brown and Company CPAs for the annual audit.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is something that normally the general manager signs. This year they're asking for the board to sign it as well.
Read through it, I believe it's reasonable, and make a motion that be approved also.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go ahead and go straight to closed session. So we'll go. The exit closed session with no reportable actions. Moving on to item number 10, director's comments. I'll start with David. You will be going last, but
We'll be
second to last.
Second last.
No, it's it was good being with RRM today. That was interesting. Then we got our budget done. So we start moving forward.
People that are out there that think we're dysfunctional should be on these closed sessions to understand what we're going through. They just don't get it because we're not telling them what's going on because it's a closed session. But once we're done and it all comes to light, hopefully there'll be a different opinion out there. So that's my comment.
Well, you guys have power
I'll take director's comments, not.
My comment is, once again, I'm frustrated at seeing crime at this airport. Last night, the Avis pickup out there at 150 has tank punctured, gasoline stolen, and had to put up the normal, fuel and silver. And we have now given a raise to our security people, and I'm seeing the problem getting worse and worse. I think we need to take a new look at the crime here, be able to see the criminals. We've got cameras, we should be able to instantly report when something is out of the normal, out there in the parking lot or inside the fence. Remember a couple months ago, somebody jumped the fence, stole a pickup truck out of a locked hangar and a safe. And I think we got to tighten up our crime. That's my comment.
I have no comment.
Make the motion. I'll second it.
Motion and second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
You get a minute? You get a minute, Patty?